What would you do if I told you you could be mortgage free for as little as £15,000? Welcome to my little series, what we've all been waiting for, and it's about moving on to a canal boat. So you're hearing it right. I'm going to tell you the story through this series of how I decided to move on to a houseboat. Now, I was watching a video and also the series are out there, tiny homes, things like that. And I watched this series about somebody who had found basically a narrowboat, and it was a second-hand one for £15,000, and they did it up and they moved on to it. And I thought, this is incredible. So straight away, I started searching online thinking, how can I find this boat for £15,000? Started searching. Now there's a few websites out there that you can find them on. And I was finding boats, even 5,000, 10,000, and it went up. But of course, the cheaper the boats, they weren't really a great condition. And I didn't really know a lot about boats. So that moved me to the next thing. I went, well, how much would it cost to buy a brand new boat? Now, as I started looking, there was different options. And it was basically, most of them were sailorways, which means you get the framework, the actual built boat, and then you could choose add the engine, add insulation, things like that. So you could either just get it as an empty shell with nothing, and then you buy everything, or you could have certain things added on. And when I started looking into this, it was around about 30,000, and that at the time. I'd love to know what the figures are now because I know it's gone up, but it was around about 30,000. Now, again, this was a narrowboat. So I started looking into it, started doing some research, finding different boat yards that made them, and I found one boat yard called Collingwood, and now this is up in Liverpool. Great boatyard, quite historical. They've been going for a long time. So I contacted them. I actually looked on their website because you can actually find some boats that are pre-made. Now, as my understanding is, these are boats that people have already ordered and then maybe cancel the order, or they just made them up, and you can get some good deals on there. So I contacted them, said I was looking to get a narrowboat, and I was deciding about 60 foot long. And I would get it as a sailorway. So what I was looking for was an engine, foam insulation throughout, and the windows and things like that, all added in. So they got back to me and they said to me, yeah, we can do that. This is going to be the price. And if I remember rightly, this was about £50,000 that it was going to cost me. And it would take 8 weeks for the build. Now, I was like, yeah, what's the deposit? Let's go for it. And they said, okay, well, you're going to have to come in, get the deposit down so we can get started. But come in first of all. We'll draw out the plans for you. And then we need to work out where do you want the windows, the basic layout of what you're going to do. Even though they weren't going to do the layout on the inside, they needed to know for things like plumbing, to where the water's going to come out of, things for electric, stuff like that. Also where to put the doors, duck hatch, anything like this. So I was like, okay. They then called me, and this is when disaster struck. They called me up and said, Neil, we have one issue. And I was like, okay, tell me. And this was all due to the war in Ukraine. And basically what they said to me was, because of the war in Ukraine, steel prices had gone up. They'd shot up. So at first I was thinking, okay, but how does that affect me? Because I've already ordered the boat. And they said, you have ordered the boat, but because we haven't started making it, we go by what the new steel prices are before we start. So the price has now gone up. So you've got two options. Pay more money to have the boat. I can't remember off the top of my head. I want to say it was maybe another 60. No, not another. It was about 60, 65,000 it would go to. Or they said I could get a wide beam. Now, if I went for a wide beam, the price was more, but because it would be residential, I wouldn't have to pay VAT. So that's 20%. I would not have to pay for the boat. So in a way, it'd work out quite well. Now, I want you to get an idea. A narrow boat, basically, you stretch your arms out and you're basically touching the walls. Now, even at the time, this was just going to be just for me. I still thought to myself, what, a wide beam would be better. So I chose to go for a 60-foot wide beam, which was about 12.6 foot wide. Went in, we did all the design, everything great. I chose where I wanted everything to be. And we started making it. From then, 8 weeks, and my boat would be made. That's what I thought. They then sent me, I think it was about 4 weeks down the line, they sent me. Now, I'm saying all this, but they were great. I love working with them. They were fantastic, so professional. And I'm always like, mistakes happen, it's fine. 4 weeks in, I want to say it was 4 weeks, I might be wrong with this. They then sent me and said, here's all the pictures, we want to show you how it's going on. I was so excited. They sent me pictures, I'm looking through thinking, this is looking absolutely stunning. I just couldn't believe it was being made. Then I noticed one thing, and I was like, oh, where is the steering wheel? Because I chose a steering wheel rather than a tiller. So where's the steering wheel going? And they were like, oh wait, you ordered a tiller. And I went, no. So we both checked back through the emails and we realized it was a steering wheel. And they were like, oh no, that's our mistake. And I was like, no problem, just add it in. And they were like, no, you don't understand. We can't just add it in. It's a whole new build. I was like, oh right, what are we going to do about this? And they said, well, basically we have to start again, but there's already a queue, so you're going to have to wait until the end of the queue. Now, maybe they were hoping I would say, oh no, I can't do that. I want it done, so let's just leave it. But I didn't. I actually turned around and went, well, I'm in no hurry. I prefer a steering wheel, so you just tell me how long and I'll wait. They got back to me same day and said, look, we've discussed it. We're not going to put you at the end of the queue. We're going to put you back at the beginning, straight in. 8 weeks from now, we're going to do it. It's our fault. We're really sorry. We're off. We're underway. Now, paint-wise as well, they asked me what type of paint I would like, and I went for something different. I chose a matte black. For me, I just love matte black. I'd get it in every car if I could. I just love it. So, and it made it look like a stealth boat. So they did it. Matte black boat. Looked stunning. It was hard. It was quite difficult for them, they said to me. But there was something new that they were doing, so they went for it. Now, I went to see the boat. I went to have a look at it as well. I went down there. Which was great, seeing everyone working and how it was coming along. And then we started discussing more things. Do I want a skylight in? Which I said yes. There was added things. Do you want the electrics done? I went yes. Now, everything I kept saying was another $5 this. Now, boat was finished. I needed it delivered. I needed to find a location to have the delivery. Now, that ended up being Watford, because there's a place called P&S Marina. And there they actually have the crane that they can put it straight into a little marina there, which is basically right next to the Grand Union. So I was like, I go down there. So we had to work it all out. Now, with delivery of the boat and making of the whole boat with electrics, skylight in, foam basis, all the windows, everything like this, the boat came to a grand total. Now, just think to yourself, at first it started off at £15,000. That's what I thought. Went up to 30, went up to 50. It ended up being £90,000. But I was in. I was done. No looking back now. That's what I decided. That's what I went through. Boat was delivered. Boat was in the water. It was a scary day when it was lifted up on the crane, taken down, put in. But I was there. And honestly, the project had begun and I was so excited. Nervous as well. Nervous, but absolutely excited. The boat has arrived. It's in the water, safe and sound. There was snow, there was everything. It took the time, the process had arrived, and the boat is here. Now it got to the point of, how do I want it to look? Now, I'd already chose basic layout of what I wanted. So what I was going for was, you're walking in. So I've got the staircase dead center. You walk down the stairs straight into the galley. Now, I love symmetrical. I love everything symmetrical. So I chose from the beginning that everything on the left-hand side would be connected with the water. That's my process. I thought that would be a lot easier to have everything going down the side on the water. So my kitchen sink was on the left-hand side, whereas my oven and hob was on the right-hand side. Then I chose to have an island. This is what I wanted. This was my vision, my plan. I wanted this island in the middle, which would have a double fridge. I would have drawers built in, and then that would go to a dining table. And I wanted that right underneath the skylight. And I just wanted this big table. I wasn't quite sure yet what the table was made of, but I wanted this huge table straight down the middle. And as that took it down, and for me what was really important was, as you walked around the boat, I wanted it to feel spacious. I didn't want to feel this cramped little alleyway walking down. I wanted a space. That would then take you into the living room, so it's all open plan. Nice sofa, fireplace, TV on the wall. And then I thought, from there, I'd then build two walls. one would house the shower, one would house the toilet. So you've gone through the living room, down a center point, behind there you go into the shower, this one you go into the toilet, and right down the center. And I love the idea of this, that you could walk into the boat, past the table, and then as you look through and you see the bathroom, you just saw a bathtub, dead center, a bathtub. That would be a low wall, sink on one side. So now on that side with the water, we've got kitchen sink, shower, we've got then the normal sink and the bathtub. So all the water can be pumped out on the same side. That was the plan, to make it also easier as well for the water to supply to get around. Behind that little wall, a bedside table, but so you could walk around on this side, again spacious, then having 2 wardrobes, and then the doors straight out to the front. Now that was my plan, that was my vision, that's what I wanted to go for. And I've seen and I looked online for a lot of different boats out there, and I was just like, this is the idea, this is what I want. I visioned it as this rustic farmhouse vibe, modern, but with that. That's what my plan and idea was. And you know what? Let's see if it actually turns out like this. Please, if you're enjoying this series, please follow and also comment, because I'd love to make little extra videos off this with your questions. So if there's anything in there, I've kind of rushed through some of the process, but if there's things in there that you want to know more, ask me and I'll make a video on it as well. But stay tuned. Next week, I will be doing the next video, which is, you're actually going to see me in the boat with the process, starting the work on the boat. Nerve-wracking.